So here as we see United about to recycle the ball from the right back to the centre, a few minutes before half time, Bruno Fernandes is hovering around the right sided half space, sitting on the back of Brownhill with the Burnley midfielders' attention drawn to Casemiro in front. Had Bruno Fernandes started in a higher position, Jordan Bale, the left-sided centre-back, probably pushes onto him to pick him up as Burnley defend in a 4-4-2. However, because Bruno Fernandes is keeping his positioning ambiguous, sitting close to Casemiro, and so not exactly in Bale's zone as the ball is circulated across United's back line, Bale doesn't even recognise Fernandes' run between him and Charlie Taylor as a viable threat until Jonny Evans has confidently pushed the ball out of his feet. And almost telepathically, Evans and Fernandes synchronise movements, with the timing and the angle of the run and pass being as close to perfect as you can probably get, and the finish from Fernandes is already one that you know is going to be replayed as one of the goals of the season. But before I go any further, are you looking to dramatically improve your fantasy football point score from last season? Well, let me tell you about the sponsor of today's video, Fantasy Football Fix, which is the perfect tool for anyone who wants to get the best possible start to this FPL season, as they provide an Elite 11 team reveal which allows you to track fantasy football's greatest ever managers in real time, with over 82 top 10,000 and 61 top 5,000 finishes. And just in my opinion, if you're not using this and someone else is, you're at a massive disadvantage. But not just that, Fantasy Football Fix also allows you to see the pre-deadline captain ownership data. The assistant manager tool also allows you to unlock transfer optimization, and you can also get predicted prices data to potentially get an advantage in the long run by increasing your team's overall value. And alongside this, they also have stats from Opta, they have predicted player points and much more. And I personally will definitely be using Fantasy Football Fix, and I'll be setting up my own Fantasy Football League, so I'll put a code somewhere either on the screen or in the description. So not only can you join my league, but you can also use Fantasy Football Fix to try to beat me as well. And so I'll leave it linked in the description for you to go to after this video. This goal was reminiscent of Robin van Persie from the early 2010s, where he had a knack of being able to peel off to the far post between the centre-back and full-back, making a perfectly timed spin and turn in behind the centre-back, and with Alex Song able to find Robin van Persie with his lofted curling passes from deep, Van Persie was able to pick up trademark volleys like this multiple times during his peak years between 2011 and 2013. And I think this is one of those moments where we get reminded that Bruno Fernandes is truly an elite level player and deserves to be talked about in the same bracket as Odegaard and De Bruyne. I do think that Bruno's lack of athleticism does make people see him as inferior to either of these two other playmakers. However, Fernandes more than makes up for this deficit in deeper areas of the pitch by being a multifaceted goal scorer and creator in the final third. He has the chance creating ability of players like De Bruyne and Odegaard, yet also has the potential to pick up 30 plus goals and assists in a single Premier League season, as he did in the 2020-2021 season with 18 goals and 12 assists. He's not just a numbers man either, but also a talismanic figure, who is most definitely clutch under pressure, putting in some big performances in big games throughout his time at United, with games last season v Liverpool and Arsenal being great examples. I think that Bruno, as he approaches his peak years of 29 to 32, which he's now in, he should be progressing into the type of player for Ten Hag that Eric Cantona was for Sir Alex. And like Cantona, I think Fernandes has to be used centrally. He performed excellently on the right against Burnley, but with Fernandes on the right, that meant that Medjugorje was left central, receiving the ball in that critical zone 14 position, in front of the opposition defensive line, and Medjugorje just doesn't have the quality to take advantage. And so this did lead to the breakdown of a few great counter-pressing and counter-attacking opportunities for United. Ideally, I would like to move Fernandes back to the central position in the three behind Højlund and bring in Mason Mount on the right, but Mount will have to match Fernandes' energy levels from a defensive point of view, as I thought that Fernandes was superb at getting to loose balls and breaking up play on that right side. Fernandes would also benefit from being given a higher position in possession, as I don't want Bruno Fernandes dropping deep in front of the opposition's midfield line. I instead want him floating in behind the opposition's midfield line before looking to make these darting runs from deep into goal scoring positions. But what was also interesting when the team sheets were initially released was how Ten Hag was going to set up his defensive shape, with Jonny Evans definitely a different style of centre-back to Lisandro Martinez, and Ten Hag took a practical but probably a necessary tactical decision to use a narrow 4-2-3-1, where the midfield double pivot of McTominay and Casemiro would diligently track the movement of Burnley's 3-8s Ramsey and Brownhill, which would see United at times drop into what resembled a back six, when the two Burnley central midfielders pushed up into a front five. Now usually this would be cause for massive issue as both central midfielders are being dragged out of the central position, usually leaving a massive space in front of the defensive line, and Ten Hag sought to deal with this by having Fernandes and Rashford sitting incredibly narrow, creating a midfield three alongside Mejbri, which stopped Burnley being able to create overloads in central positions by inverting their fullbacks. And this definitely made it harder for Burnley to progress the ball into United's defensive third, but the knock-on effects of using such a conservative approach was that Ten Hag's side had little to no press after the front four, who did have occasions where the timing and the intensity of their press was perfect, forcing Burnley long or wayward, but other times the front four would press, whilst the back line and midfield double pivot would drop, leaving space in behind the front four, creating Burnley's escape route with a short sequence of passes, allowing them to push United back into their own half. Also, due to United having so many players in the back line at times, this meant that United were sometimes slow to apply pressure to deeper Burnley players, and with United also trying to hold a relatively high line to compress the play, this led to Al Dakhil being able to stride forward before floating a pass in behind Reguilon for the run of Jacob Bron-Larsen, which but for Onana's intervention and a better touch could have led to Burnley creating a 1v1 opportunity. We also saw in the first half that when players switch off, usually during a situation like this where Højlund is moving up the pitch from a deeper position and Mejbri is running back from higher up the pitch, because United have both Casemiro and McTominay sitting deep, Burnley have massive amounts of space to stride into, as Josh Cullen does here. Johnny Evans loses his bottle and drops off far too early, recognising there is no pressure on the ball, but the rest of the backline hold their position, and so when Cullen threads a pass into Ramsey, he's able to completely bypass United's backline with a well-weighted pass into the path of Amdouni, who came incredibly close to opening the scoring for Burnley, hitting the post after a fantastic piece of movement which was allowed due to Højlund not dropping into Mejbri's central midfield position and holding it until the Tunisian was able to get back, which meant because Casemiro and McTominay are holding deeper positions with Brownhill and Ramsey, this allowed the space to materialise for Cullen to then drive into. And so whilst I did like this temporary tactical tweak from Ten Hag, looking to fill those spaces between the centre-backs and full-backs, which have caused United so many problems recently, I do think against better opposition they would have been made to pay for sitting that deep at times, and really Burnley should have as well, with Amdouni hitting the post and Burnley recording a higher XG than United with 0.94 compared to United's 0.84 by the end of the game. I do think moving to a 5 at the back defensive shape when United don't have the ball could be the answer, as rather than having both the players in the double pivot dropping deep into the back line, you essentially already have a 5 at the back with 3 central defenders, giving United an extra player higher up in the centre of the pitch. I did recently put out a whole video analysing why I would either use a 5 at the back system or a diamond system, so I'll leave that video linked in the description. And I have got some more videos which should be out later today, maybe tomorrow, so make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you do get notified when those come out. Also, let me know about any future videos. Do you like the tactical analysis videos? Would you like some transfer suggestion videos? Maybe some individual player analysis videos? You can let me know in the comment section below. And check out some of my other videos which I will leave linked in the description.